For Creamer Media's Polity, I'm Sashnee Moodley. Researcher and analyst Professor Raymond Suttner joins me for Suttner's View, a weekly commentary on South Africa's political scene. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you.
Many people feel a sense of helplessness in the wake of the destruction of institutions of state and the collapse of the ANC as a leading organization and the increasing corruption and illegality. But what can we as ordinary citizens do?
Yes, I think that a lot of people fall into passivity and say, woe is me, what can I do? It's just terrible, too terrible for words. I'm very disappointed and this, that and the other. And I find that it's very important for all of us to understand that we live lives where we can make a difference. We can make a difference even in this shopping center where you will see every now and again an old lady stumbling. Do you just walk past or do you help her pick up her things and whatever it is? And that sort of conduct, socially conscious assistance to another person, is part of building a society that cares not just about wealth for myself, but about the well-being of the vulnerable. Now, what we have seen in recent weeks is very interesting in the sense that you've had people come into the streets and in their thousands. And the major organizers seem to have been EFF and Save South Africa, especially in Pretoria, EFF. But I think what's very interesting to me is that you have the ingenuity of ordinary people, like those gogos who were dancing and singing their own song that they composed about Zuma must fall, Zuma must fall. And they didn't understand why there was so much of a fuss about them. Also, if you go down to Orange Grove, to First Street, along the street, there's less now, but there were garbage, these black garbage packets attached to trees saying Zuma must fall, no to state capture, no to corruption, all the way down the street. So ordinary people have taken it upon themselves to verbalize the anger that they feel, so that even if Zuma is going to serve his whole term in office, we are in what Gramsci used to call an unstable equilibrium. The forces wanting to remove Zuma may not be strong enough to remove him, but Zuma is not strong enough to suppress this dissatisfaction. He cannot do anything that can really make people feel satisfied with what he's doing. So that concept of unstable equilibrium applied more to revolutions where the ruling class couldn't really rule, but the resistance were not strong enough to overthrow it. So we've got an unstable equilibrium of a different sort, with very high levels of dissatisfaction, which seem always to lead to Zuma still smiling and having his own reading of the situation. What I think is also important is we must understand that, as I said in that other interview, we must not only think of Zuma falling, we must also think about what we can do in the interim. Now, Freedom Under Law and the Helen Suzman Foundation have brought a series of legal actions which have led to the removal at this stage of two leading NPA officials struck off the role of advocates. You've had this thing with Mklemeza, and what is important about that is that the irregularity of the legal system, the policing system, the prosecuting system are key elements of Zuma's sustaining himself in office. Now, in taking all these legal steps to remove them, they've done a lot of work in the interim. And I think this thing of introducing the idea that the person who has resisted must show cause why they shouldn't bear the costs is actually very important, because people are going to think twice now about defending some things because they may be forced to pay. On the other hand, what I think is important is that freedom under law, Section 27, Helen Suzman Foundation, are non-governmental organizations. What we need is to recover agency ourselves as ordinary citizens, and that means building organizations. And that takes a long time. And I don't think, Save South Africa, Sipho Pichana was talking about it being like the UDF, but they don't have branches. They may have 3 or 4 branches here and there, but that's not what we need if every citizen will feel that their political life is not only voting, and they can do other things in between.
But nothing seems to point to Zuma leaving.
Yeah, I think we may see that one day overnight Zuma leaves, but it may be that we are burdened with Zuma right until 2019. And if someone like Cyril Ramaphosa, instead of Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, comes in as deputy president of the ANC, it's going to be the instability of the country is going to increase. But I think it's harder. We're talking now with the beginning of mass unrest or restiveness being shown in the country. What one hopes can develop is that a range of broad organizations can develop which can take through a message, not just that Zuma must go, but that we must rebuild the country. Now, the Easter message of Archbishop Thabo Makgoba of the Anglican Church was very, very important. He was saying things like, nothing, no matter how onerous and difficult something may be, nothing that is done cannot be undone. Now, we've got to understand that the burdens that we bear, it is possible to remove them. We have to ask ourselves, what do we need to remove them? And we've got to understand that not everything will happen tomorrow, but we've got to build foundations. That is why I stressed the need for social organizations around faith-based communities, around professions, students, youth, women, and so forth. And with a range of these things, what seems immovable maybe will be removed.
Thank you, Professor. That was Professor Raymond Suttner speaking to Creamer Media's Polity about what we can do about the current political crisis.